Hey there, Internet. I'm here with my coach, colleague, mentor, and good friend, Steve Chandler. You may know him as the godfather of coaching. He's written a number of books, including Wealth Warrior, The Prosperous Coach, The Story of You, so many great books, Relationship. I love all of your books, Steve. And I'm really, really, really honored and deeply grateful that you have agreed to be faculty once again on this year's AJC Coaching Career School.
I know you love my books, and you've also told me someday you are going to read them, which I appreciate as well.
As you may have noticed, Steve has a very dry sense of humor. Steve, I think I've read almost all of your books. I know some of them are no longer in print, but I do try and get my hands on them. But everything I've read of yours is wonderful. And I know there's so much you can talk about today because you've got such a wealth of knowledge for coaches. But I was wondering, as you're going to be faculty on this school, whether we could talk about why attend a school from your perspective, because I know, one, you ran your own school, which was very successful, ACS, for many years. I know you now got this amazing online option, which I highly recommend people check out. But you've also helped Carolyn Fryer Jones do her school in the States, and you've really been the support in the background for this school. And I was wondering where the idea for a school came from and why you think it's important for coaches to be part of one.
Well, many years ago, when you were merely a toddler, I noticed that there were no schools for coaches focused solely on building a prosperous practice. The only schools available for coaches or programs or curricula were for how to coach. And sign up here, we'll teach you how to coach. And some of those programs had a little component at the end of the program on how to market yourself as a coach. And those marketing, the teachings that I saw in those programs were not effective. They were applying the same marketing techniques that coaching school used to get students. They were telling coaches to do the same thing to get individual clients, but it didn't work because one-to-one coaching has such a high relationship factor, such a high trust factor, that merely marketing who you are and getting your name out there and spamming and scamming and I'm a coach, I'll give you a free session, wasn't working for people. So I thought there's a real missing piece in this brand new profession called coaching, and it was brand new back then. It isn't anywhere. So I decided I would do that years ago. And it was tough going to get 9 people to go to my first school for how to get clients. I had to talk to these coaches for hours and hours and hours and demonstrate to them why learning how to run your own business, be your own boss, set your fees, acquire clients was really a major factor in whether you become a coach with a sustainable income. Now, since that time, there have been a handful of people who could teach that as well as my school did. Carolyn was one, you are one, and there are a few others. And so I was delighted to help you brainstorm your school and create it, not based on my teachings, but based on how well you do when you coach a coach. You can make a school out of that. And I kind of pushed you like, you can do that. When are you going to do it? And especially in Europe, where people can't always fly to California for Carolyn's school or fly somewhere to Michael Neal's school or something like that. And so when you put your school together, I knew ahead of time it was going to be really successful because it was going to be really useful. It was going to be the missing piece for so many coaches who they learned to be a 3P practitioner or they learn how to coach and they get good at it. But what they're not good at is creating a sustainable, prosperous practice. You know how to teach people how to do that. So I'm thrilled that your school is in existence. I've been reading so much feedback on what people have gotten out of the first version of your school. And it's been enthusiastic and real. It's true. These are facts. People's practices are improving. The fear around money is going away. And all the things that get in the way of a coach having a great practice are addressed in your school and worked with in a highly interactive way, which you like to do. So I'm thrilled your school is rolling along nicely. I'm honored, truly, to have been selected to be on the faculty and to do a masterclass inside your school. When I did one the last time, it was really great fun for me. And I was pleasantly surprised at how attentive, interactive, eager, the learning mindsets that your students in the school had when I did the master class. I'll often go on some group of coaches, and the coaches are kind of vague, or they're not really present, and that wasn't true for your school. So I want to thank you for inviting me back and being on the same faculty with people I look up to and admire, like Keith Blevins. I mean, I was intimidated when he actually showed up in student form when I gave my masterclass. I thought, what kind of universe am I now living in that Keith Blevins would actually be there? He's been a hero of mine. He's a great teacher of three principles, as you know. He's been coach of yours for a long time. So I'm excited about this next round. Your school is only going to get better and even more impactful, even more useful for coaches. And I look forward to the small part I'm going to play in that. And so I want to thank you for bringing me on board. I'll say one other thing. Lawyers go to law school and their family doesn't complain. Doctors go to medical school and the family doesn't complain and say, hey, why do you go into medical school? Why don't you just get some medical instruments and open up your own shop and operate on people? But when a coach, this happened for me, my family members would say, what are you doing? Spending money on learning how to do this and how to do that. Why do you do that? You don't have to do that. You already know how to be a coach. Well, it's the same thing. Coaches who do well make the same kind of money that doctors and lawyers do. And to make that kind of money, you have to have the equivalent of medical school or law school, and you have to create it for yourself by choosing what you're going to invest in. Invest in a good coach, and if you're not making the kind of money you want, invest in the Ankush Jain School, if you're in Europe especially. But even you had people in America coming to your school. It's that good. And it makes a lot of sense, and it's a true investment. It's not a cost. It's not just money I'll never see again. It is money that's going to double itself and come back to me many times over. The same is true. People take out a loan for dental school or law school or medical school, and they know they're going to be able to pay it back out of being a doctor. The same is true with your school. The return on investment is very high.
Thank you, Steve. And you're right. The quality of people in the school last time was really exceptional. I'm so glad that 9 of them are coming back again, because they're coming back from a kind of a higher level and they're going to bring even more. And I think this school, we're over 2/3 full now. I would say the group is shaping up to be even better than the very high standard we had last time. So like you, I'm very excited about it. We had our first preschool webinar this week, and again, it was very interactive. People were asking very insightful questions, and everyone really benefits from that. One more question I've got for you, Steve, is that one of the things that I found after I started working with you and learning the ideas and systems that we teach in the school is that it was very different from pretty much anything else I'd come across out in the industry, out in the world of coaching. And it's now kind of 8-9 years later, and it still surprises me how little it's understood. And I remember in the last school, we had a few people who thought they knew what it was I was going to teach, or they felt they had a kind of an idea. They'd even worked with other coaches, and they remarked in the school, they went, I've never heard this. This is the opposite of what other people have been telling me. I thought I knew what you were going to say. And I've really found out that I'm on a mission to really change that in this industry, because for a long time I would scratch my head thinking, why isn't this more understood? And I'm curious, for me as much as for everyone else, why do you think that is? Why do you think still, despite you doing this work for so long, having written so many books, having so many wonderful clients of yours out in the world as role models, this is still relatively, misunderstood or not understood?
Yeah, I often wonder about that. I think a lot of it is because coaching is a brand new profession in the world's cultures and society. And in many ways, even though psychotherapy and psychological counseling and psychiatric work is still valid and vital and important, in many ways, coaching has picked up the slack about, okay, let's say I'm psychologically fairly healthy, which a lot of people who know me would say that's a stretch, but there's nothing there to help me succeed in life. So even my psychotherapist, I had a psychotherapist before there was even such a thing as coaching for average people or coaching for coaches. And even he, in his last years on the planet, he started doing life coaching as well as therapy, because he said, I have a lot of people don't need any more therapy. We have focused on the past. We've made their past significant. We've gone through all that talk therapy. How does that make you feel? And coaching goes in a completely different direction. It helps you create your future the way you want to create it. It's not just let's go over the past and figure out who you can blame for how you feel about things today. Coaching is super optimistic. It is very creative, and it is about creating your own future and about getting over yourself and getting over the past and leaving it behind. It's only a memory now, and starting with a blank slate and creating the future, creating the relationships you'd really like to have and the profession you'd really like to do in the world, and do it in a way that you enjoy. No, therapy never took up that as a central piece of what we're going to work on. And coaching does. So coaching filled a void. Now, what was missing was, how do I create a profitable business out of this? Because psychotherapy, everybody charged per hour about the same thing, and it was a highly regulated business, and there wasn't much room for creativity, and it didn't factor in the amount of impact your therapy had, didn't cost more. And coaching was a wonderful combination of counseling, therapy, but also business consulting thrown in, and just a super optimistic way that was in alignment with neuroscience, which has discovered in recent years how changeable the brain is and how we're not stuck in our personalities that we used to think were permanent. So trying to now get clients and build a prosperous practice, that's a completely different subject. And coaches got all confused about how to do that. And they would walk around saying, tell me how to market myself. Tell me what I should charge. Tell me how to, because that was just totally confusing to them. And what you've done with your school, and Carolyn Freyer Jones with her school, and what the ACS used to do, is give them a complete, deep, total immersion study of, now how do we acquire clients that are in alignment with not wanting to be salesy, not wanting to have high ego self-promotion, because that doesn't work. People assumed it would work, but it doesn't.
I think one of the things that you really taught me, which I'm reflecting on as you're speaking, is you're right that self-promotion doesn't work, but what does work, and it sounds trite and it sounds almost too good to be true, but I've seen it, is really loving people, is really caring about them. And I found that, you know, when I came to you, what I really wanted was, I wanted to coach. I wanted to really help people. And what you helped me see and create, and now this is what I get to pass forward and pass on to the next generation of coaches, is we can do that now. And when we do that, and when we serve and we love, and we just come from that place and not be needy, not try and convert people, not get them to sign up, clients are created through that energy. And even if they're not, I talk to so many people who don't end up becoming clients, or don't end up becoming clients straight away. That's great. I'd rather be spending my time doing that than spending my time trying to convince people, market them, cold call, make it into a numbers game.
Yeah, absolutely right. You've really nailed it with how and why this works, especially in today's world. It's very easy to, because of the internet and no accountability, not having to look someone in the eye and be with someone, to criticize and hate. Who should we hate? What kind of group should we demonize today? It's very easy to hate, and learning to connect with that loving heart we had as children, and learning to bring that into an adult world and have that be what we do for a living, that takes a reinvention of who we are. And it's exciting. It's great. And it's great because that's what builds your client base, and getting back in touch with understanding people and wanting to understand more than to make an impression on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very hopeful and I'm optimistic that as this is shared, this ethos is shared in this school, that is then now transmitted, and there's a ripple effect of this going out into the world. And I think we'll get to hopefully a tipping point when enough coaches really understand and see this, that it will become the new normal. And I think that does a really great service to the industry, because when coaches, I feel, and you've really been a stand for this, learn how to make money and do it, but do it in this way. It's kind of the way that money is made is through having a better impact on the world, having a deeper impact. And
Yes.
the more you have, the more money is created, the more the profession of coaching is, I feel, raised up. And so I think this can be a really beautiful turning point for the industry.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, I know we were going to keep this to 20 minutes. Is there anything you would like to say before we finish up today?
Well, I admire the fact that you have so many people coming back who are in School One for you. They have the insight that it's more like a health club in many ways than just information that once they get the information, they're good to go. There's a high element of information, strategy, technique, what works, what doesn't work in getting clients. But it's also so interactive and so different. Every day is different. Questions are different. It's like a health club. The woman who has made the most money as a coach that I've been associated with, she came to my school 8 times. And I kept thinking, why are you there? You've been a couple times before. And she said, every time I attend, I see more, I learn more. And being in the company of other coaches has a really beneficial effect. Just being in the company of other coaches. This is a very lonely profession. If you don't have colleagues and other coaches that you come to know and become friends with and share ideas with, you end up, and I did this, sitting alone, and I had an office in my garage. Lonely, what do I do next? Who do I talk to? I really missed my previous professions of being in an office with a lot of people that I could talk to all day, and they could tell me what to do and all that. And so being in a group like yours, just being there with other coaches has a hugely beneficial effect. It takes the isolation out of the profession and gives you colleagues and camaraderie and just a much better feeling of confidence that you're in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just reminded me, as a thing to share is, again, based on your guidance and feedback, is I've really made that a central part of the school to not only have a great group of coaches together, but consciously create an energy, a vibe, a feeling where everyone in the school is really there for one another. It's a spirit of compersion as opposed to competition, as in taking joy when other people succeed. And what I know to be true is that if there's 36 coaches in the school who are all rooting for each other, actively trying to help one another, then everybody wins. And again, that's something that you've really inspired me to create.
Well, you've done it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for your time today. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back as faculty. And I'm excited for people to get to experience you for a couple of hours as part of the masterclass. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.